Okay, that's lovely. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to District Assembly 2023. For those of you who I've not met yet, my name is Pam Holgate, and I'm the incoming District Governor for Rotary in Cumbria and Lancashire. District Assembly is the time when we hear from incoming Rotary International President Gordon McAnally. We learn about the theme for the year, and I share with you my focus and priorities. And we also hear from some fabulous speakers. What I'm going to do now is just start a PowerPoint and talk to you, and then I will introduce our guests for today. So our programme for the District Assembly, we will run across 4 days. Each day we'll have a theme, and each of these themes links to my priorities. So today we hear from past District Governor Belma Robinson, who is also our public image lead, and Rotarian Phil Dyer, who is the Rotary Great Britain and Ireland public lead. And their theme is promoting what we do to enhance our community connections. On Tuesday, we will hear from past District Governor Mary Bradley, who is also our community and vocation lead, and environment lead John Blows. And their theme is fostering harmony between our communities and the environment. On Wednesday, I will be joined by Rotarian Peter Brooks from the Rotary Club of Blackpool Palatine, along with his friend and Dementia Ambassador, Helen Ashton. And the theme on Wednesday is dementia awareness, and I will expand on that as we share the information with you on Wednesday. Then on Monday the 15th, now you will remember, and it is, I will apologise, you will remember that we had one scheduled for Monday. However, I had completely forgotten that it was a public holiday on Monday, so I do apologise, and we did have a lot of people who said they couldn't make it. So what we've done is we've moved Monday the 1st's presentation to Monday the 15th. And then we will hear from our foundation lead, John McGill, and foundation club lead, Les Hardy. And their theme is creating lasting change through the Rotary Foundation. So back to today. And I want to start by sharing with you our theme for 2023-24, which is Create Hope in the World. In January of this year, I had the honour of representing our district at International Assembly in Orlando, and there I met over 500 other district governor-elects from all over the world, where we shared our experiences of being Rotarians, the project work that we do, and our connections within our communities. And here I also met incoming Rotary International President Gordon McAnally, and listened as he unveiled the theme along with the reasons behind it. And you'll see on the screen there is a photograph of myself with Gordon and his wife. The theme is a call to action. It's something I know will resonate with everyone. And it's something that warms my heart when I think about creating hope in the world, especially in the current climate. It's something as Rotarians, as people of action, we continually strive to do both locally, nationally and internationally. I'd like to play for you an excerpt of Gordon's speech. There is a longer version on the Rotary Great Britain and Ireland website, but I want to play you an excerpt. And please, I'd just like you to sit and listen to how Gordon puts the theme into context.
In 2006, I visited a village in Thailand, Ban Taling Jan, where Rotary members, following the tsunami of 2004, had provided new houses, a meeting hall, a childcare facility, and a healthcare facility. There I was approached by a woman who looked as worn as you might expect of someone who had faced and lived through what she had done. That woman offered me a beautiful seashell. This beautiful seashell. She explained that the shell had been in her possession for more than 30 years. It was one of her very few remaining possessions. And initially, I was reluctant to accept it, but she insisted on giving it to me as a token of her gratitude for what Rotary had done for her. Later on the tour, I saw the woman again, and I learned that she had lost her husband, her daughter, and also her son in the tsunami. She told me that that disaster had taken everything. She lost her family, her home, her livelihood, but worst of all, she had lost hope and all reason to continue to live. But she went on to tell me that Rotary, thanks to all we had done to rebuild her community, had restored her optimism. She told me we had given her hope. This is a beautiful shell. And as I was planning the theme for our year and what it would mean, I was drawn not only to the shell, but also to the colours of the world around us, which are used to great effect by one of Scotland's greatest living artists, John Laurie Morrison, OBE, better known as Joe Lomo, whose paintings Heather and I have admired and collected for many years. As we were selecting the colours for our ties and our scarves, as you can now see on the screen behind me, I wanted them to reflect the world's colours, and more importantly, what Rotary should focus on in our year ahead. The memory of the lady from Thailand, and these colours made me realise that what we should be seeking to do at this time, what we should be using as our call to action, and it all made me realise what our theme should be. And so I am delighted to tell you that our theme for 2023-24 will be Create Hope in the World.
Create hope in the world. Quite an incredible speech by Gordon, where he called for Rotary to create hope in our communities, but also in ourselves. And he talked about peace, which is the soil where hope takes root. He urged us to engage in tough conversations and tricky conversations to earn the trust needed to realise these values. And he talked about the need for us to check in with each other. Now, I'm a good one. When I meet people, I always go, hi, how are you? But actually, we need to stop and think and check in with those around us to make sure that they really are okay. So I just want to end my welcome by sharing the slide. It sets the scene for this year's District Assembly and especially today's theme. We are more than a club, we are a movement, we are Rotary. And sitting in the auditorium at Orlando, surrounded by fellow Rotarians from all over the world, is a feeling, I've got goosebumps now reminding myself of it, is a feeling that I will never forget. I sit here in Clitheroe. I am part of Accrington Rotary, which is part of Rotary in Cumbria and Lancashire, which is part of Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland, which is part of Rotary International. We are amazing individuals and we do amazing things. But I also want to remind you of Paul Harris's words. This is a changing world and we must prepare to change with it. And the story of Rotary will have to be written and again and again. And I know that our speakers for today will talk to you about that. So I'm just going to stop screen sharing and then I will introduce our guests for today. So it gives me an immense pleasure to introduce our guest speakers today, our own Velma Robinson and Rotary Great Britain and Ireland, Phil Dyer.
Morning, Pam.
Morning. I will hand over the stage to you, Velma, and look forward to listening to you and Phil.
Good morning, everyone. We are delighted to be here today. I'm just going to start my screen share, which should look a little bit like that. And I am thrilled to be here today with Pam. She asked me a couple of weeks ago to talk here with Val, so we've prepared the full 4-hour public image seminar on everything to do with public image. So sit down and strap back. It could be a fun morning. Only joking. I think it's about 20 minutes, so you'll be relieved there. I am thrilled to be working this morning with Val Robinson, and it's a great pleasure. I've worked with Val before when she was district governor. Val joined Rotary in 2009 and is a member of Furness Peninsula Rotary Club, where she's been twice president, 2012-13 and 2019-20. She was district governor, as I mentioned, in 2021, and has worked with the foundation as a foundation grants officer, an international lead, a foundation lead, and is now currently seen the light and joined Public Image. She also sits, because she's a busy lady, on the Rotary Great Britain and Ireland foundation team as a specialist advisor for the North of England cluster. So I'm delighted to be working with Val.
Oh, thank you very much, Phil. You really painted a story there. If it's good or not, I don't know. But good morning, everyone, and thank you again to Pam for asking me to participate in this session of the Assembly. It's also my privilege to introduce my co-speaker this morning. Phil, welcome and thank you. Phil has been on a visitor to our district on numerous occasions, and it's great to have you back today, Phil. Phil is a board member in the first regionalised board of Rotary International, as well as being the Rotary Public Image Coordinator for Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland. As the new titles now specify, he is the Specialist Advisor Team Lead. Phil is also currently the President of Prescott Rotary in District 1285, which, if you know where 1285 is, it covers mainly the Manchester area. So that's enough about me and Phil. Let's start the story. Public image is all about influencing people's perception of Rotary, and that's what we are going to talk about today. Understanding how we can use our Rotary brand to its maximum. You are going to hear over the next minutes or half an hour many words, because phrases such as projects and storytelling is a lot used in this session. We all know that projects are key to attracting interest and building our reputation, but most of all, it's highlighting the impact of all those projects we do in the community. Phil and I will not only look at the theory, but work through some real projects and help to build a story. Now, Pam has already shown the quote before, and you will most definitely recognize it. This is a changing world. We must be prepared to change with it. The story of Rotary will have to be written again and again. That is quite a strong statement. Rotary has never stood still. We have constantly evolved to meet the need in the world and in the communities around us. Paul Harris had tremendous foresight when he said those words back in 1935. He saw the need to keep evolving to stay relevant. He was also a very inspirational leader and a man with a vision. And in current RI President Jennifer Jones, we also have an inspirational leader who has proved something of a master at storytelling, specifically the Rotary story, and she does it in a thoughtful and in an inspirational way. But there's always a downside to things. We as Rotarians have so many good stories to tell, but somehow we tend to be a bit black and white about it. If I may put a lighter slant on it, can you remember the days of black and white telly? They were great when first it came out, and many of you might have been keen snooker enthusiast, and I wondered if anybody can remember that famous Ted Lowe statement, "Griffiths snookered on the brown," which for those of you watching in black and white is the ball directly behind the pink. Well, that told a brilliant story. We moved on from those black and white days, and today we're going to address and see how we can put more colour and vibrancy into everything that we do. Over to you, Phil.
Thank you, Val, for that. Setting the scene there very well. As Val says there, we're trying to put a little bit of vibrancy back into our clubs and into the projects that we do. And I'm a huge advocate for projects. I believe projects are key to our Rotary work. Yes, we enjoy our fellowship, and yes, we enjoy meeting to have a bite to eat together, but it's the activity that we do, the projects that bring about the good that we do in the world, whether that's in our communities at home or further afield. Projects in my world are exciting and involving and engaging and bring a level of vibrancy to our organisation. They make us, they are the meat in the sandwich, to coin a phrase, and they allow us to make our impact on the world. But projects need Rotarians and helpers and volunteers and friends to assist us with the projects that we are doing. After all, we are people of action, and we mustn't forget that. We are there first, we help out, and we provide solutions to our communities, as I've said, whether they're local or further afield. We are also part of a 1.4 million member organisation, and our vision statement for the organisation is this. You'll have heard it before, but I'm going to read it again. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities and in ourselves. But the four most important words within that phrase for me are: together, people create change. And it's us that drive our organisation. We are a grassroots organisation, and we are club-based. It is the work that we do in the clubs that makes the impact on the world that we are trying to bring forward. Of course, being part of a global organisation, there is an action plan, and we have a plan for what we are trying to create. Our action plan is very vibrant, as you can see here, and comes with 4 pillars: increase our impact, enhance participant engagement, expand our reach, and increase our ability to adapt. And as me and Val were preparing for this presentation, we thought, blimey heck, that's absolutely purpose-built for public image, because all 4 of those pillars can influence the public image that we put forward as our clubs. And I'll talk them through for you now. So the first one, increase our impact. Well, we're going to come on to it, but our brand is an amazing brand. And when used in everything that we do consistently across all of the clubs within our district, within Rotary Great Britain and Ireland, we truly become the global organisation that we are. It's when we bring about use the wrong imagery and the wrong logos that it creates doubt as to the organisation that we are. Enhancing participant engagement. Well, the public image officer in the club can't do it all, and neither can the public image chair of the district, Val, and there's a full team of people there. So Make sure that you are engaging with other people in your club, other people in your district, and other people in Rotary Great Britain and Ireland to make sure that you are getting the best from your public image. Expand Our Reach is all about telling the Rotary story, and we're going to major on that towards the latter part of this presentation with a couple of real practical examples of what you can do. And increase our ability to adapt. Well, we've been through a massive change in our society this last 2 or 3 years. Who knew COVID was around the corner? But we did. We adapted and we overcame. We all became Zoom masters, and we've all become that little bit more proficient on social media, which is absolutely critical to making sure that we increase our impact and expand our reach in our communities. We need to remember that when we stand outside of our club, everything is a presentation. The public see us and they see Rotary, and you have to present yourself as part of an organisation that is 1.4 million strong in over 220 countries around the globe. So think about how people see us. Often there is a gap between reality and perception. And how many of you out there today does this photograph represent your club? Possibly it represents mine. Sometimes we think we're better than we are, or we're presenting ourselves in a better image than we actually are. We need to think about what image we're putting forward, because it's all about the way that we look and the way that we engage with our communities that brings about a membership dividend. And with more members and more people helping us, we can do more service and more foundation giving. We live in a visual world. The world has changed this last few years, and everything can be broadcast on social media in a few clicks. And people buy with their eyes. If you're putting posts on social media with just blocks of text, you are wasting your time. Social media is part of the fabric of our society, and broadly, it is absolutely free to use. If you put an engaging post out on your website, in your newsletter, or on social media, it needs to be exciting and it needs to be vibrant. We've all got a smartphone in our pockets now, and taking a reasonably good quality image is very easy. And don't settle for second best. If you take 2 or 3 shots and only use one, that's absolutely fine. But pictures of people sat down having dinner is definitely not what we want to be aiming for. We need to build our brand. We have a phenomenal brand with global reach. And when used correctly, as I've said earlier, it makes all the difference. And the correct use of the brand may seem trivial to some, but it's the foundation for what we do, and we'll talk about that later. You don't see Coca-Cola, Nike, McDonald's using the wrong logo, Apple, Oxfam, and lastly, the Scouts using the wrong logo. Often people talk to me about the Rotary logo, why we had the word Rotary added to the wheel. Well, even the Scouts put on the word Scouts underneath it. We all knew, or did we, that the trefoil was the logo for the Scouts. I possibly did, because I was a Scout, but they decided to write the word Scouts underneath their logo, a bit like we chose to write the word Rotary next to our logo. Now, of course, there's loads of rules and regulations associated with Rotary, and here are the first 3 volumes, and that is just the Rotary brand volumes. I'm only kidding. The whole thing, and I just haven't got a copy to hand, but the whole thing now, you can't really see that, can be placed on one piece of paper. The brand guidelines are one piece of paper and are available at rotary.org outside of My Rotary. So you haven't even got the excuse now not to be able to log into My Rotary. They sit outside it, and anyone in the world can get our branding. So let's talk a little bit about our brand. Here it is, Rotary with the wheel, and this is our brand. You may be surprised, but this new branding is 10 years old. It's 10 years old, literally about a week ago. It comes in a couple of flavours, and this is the simplified version, and one personally that I prefer to use. And here we have it correctly used with Val's Club, Furness Peninsula. So you write your club designator underneath it. You can choose to write it above or below, and of course you can use it with the word club of. I tend to not use the word club of, thinking it's a little bit more old-fashioned, but if that's what you would like to do, that's totally fine. We have the Mark of Excellence, which is the wheel, and we're able to use that as Rotarians, but we should always use it when we've got our club logo in presence as well. We should never use the simplified wheel on its own. That's not part of the rules. So just watch yourself with that one. And as Pam said earlier, we have an internal theme for the year 23-24. And now this is a call to action to us as Rotarians. We have one every year, and this year is a phenomenal one for Gordon's year. Create hope in the world. We should refrain from using it externally because it's considered to dilute the power of the brand that we already have. But using it internally in calls to action for us as our Rotarians at district events, at district assemblies, is charters, etc., is absolutely fine. This is our inspiration for this Rotary year. So here we have the old wheel, and we should not be using this at any cost. I hear people talking and saying, well, I've got T-shirts with the old wheel on. And I say to myself, well, if you've got a 10-year-old T-shirt and you're still wearing it, you probably need to treat yourself to a new one. Lots of other people tell me that the yellow wheel can't be seen on a white background. And that's true. And that's why it comes in 4 colours. So all of the logos come in these colourways: white and gold, black, azure blue, all white, and as is the preferred way, blue with a gold wheel. These are the correct ways to use the brand. Remember that when you buy a new Ford car, you get a new Ford badge. You cannot buy a new Ford car with the old Ford badge. We've had 6 or 7 different types of Rotary logo since 1905, when Paul Harris created the organisation, and as he says in his own words back in 1935, change is needed and Rotary will be rewritten again and again. Just to put a little bit of context on, here we have the Rotary logos all sized to the correct height, and you can just about make out the Rotary logo there on the right-hand side. But one that I'd like to just point out to you, even the lifeboats changed their logo from their flag, which we all know, the Royal National Institute for Lifeboats, and they wrote the word lifeboats underneath it. So when we use our new branding, 10 years old, not new at all, here we have the branding now. And flicking back, you can see the difference there. So that's enough about branding. I've probably bored you all to tears with branding, but take away from this that it is a powerful brand, and when we use it consistently, it makes all the difference to the work that we do in our communities, again, whether they're local or further afield. I'd like to talk a little bit now about the power of storytelling. Now, we all know, and Pam has mentioned it, we have some terrific storytellers in the Rotary world, but all of our senior Rotarians, past international presidents, Jennifer Jones, now Gordon McAnally, have had exposure to world events where they've been able to create a story for themselves about storytelling, and not everyone can do that. So we need maybe to think about how our stories are told in our communities. And it's now not good enough just to put a little flyer out to say we're putting on this event. People want to be led, a story told about the event that we're putting on. So that got me thinking about how can we tell stories about the projects that we are going to do, we want to do, but make them more engaging for the communities that we want to get involved. Because it's okay putting an event on, but you need people to come to that event. So how are you going to do it? Well, all great stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I'm going to pick a really dull project. It's a project that we do in my club. We do it from time to time. It's quite a dull project, but we've done it for a long time. So let's imagine a typical bag pack at a local supermarket. So the beginning of the story may be that we get some flyers out on social media. We put it on the notice board of the supermarket. Rotary are coming on X date. Rotary Club of Prescott, which is my club, are coming on the 12th of May and making the date up. And we are going to be packing your bags and collecting your donations for the cause that you're collecting it. Let's just say we're collecting for a local hospice. Let's get a bright, correctly branded flyer out into the space, copying in all of the local supermarket and get the most reach that we can for that flyer. That's the beginning of the story. What we might do for the middle of the story, I picked here a sandwich, as you can probably tell. I quite like a sandwich from now and again. What we need to do with the middle of the story is we need to tell them a little bit more detail. So maybe a couple of 3 days before the event, you'd put another couple of posts out saying, don't forget, Rotary are going to be at Morrison Supermarket on X time of day, and we'll be able to pack your shopping and be able to, you'll be able to make a donation to the following great cause. And tell them that. And then on the day, give them more information. We're here now, we're having fun, and maybe put a couple of pictures out. If you're inside and you're doing an event like a bag pack, you probably don't need to wear your high-vis vest, but a correctly branded T-shirt or sweatshirt would be absolutely perfect for that. As far as I'm aware, they don't have a lot of heavy goods vehicles transiting up and down the aisles of supermarkets, so the high-vis vest is probably not needed. But the most important bit of the story, we've talked about the beginning and the middle, but the most important bit of the story is the end. And it's not the end with us all stood there with an amount of money or a bucket saying that we collected 800, 900 pounds. Thank you very much. That is absolutely not really that important. If you want to take a picture of that, that's fine. Put it in the family album and forget about it. But the end of the story is the impact that that money has created. When you've sent that money across, and we said a hospice in this particular situation, what impact has it had on the people's lives that are living in that hospice? How has it impacted on them? And that is the end of the story. The impact that we have created. We've given our volunteer time. We've set our stall out. We've gone and done an event. We've created some money. The money is just a function. It is the impact that makes all the difference. Now, if you can think about the beginning, the middle, and the end for your club projects and tell them in a storytelling way, that will become a culture to how you put your projects on in the future. And that's what I would ask you to do. Now I'm going to hand over to Val, who's going to talk about her project and her story. Thank you, Val.
Thank you very much, Phil. Now for something completely different, as they say. I want to tell you another story, but I will need to give you a little bit of background first. Many of you will remember in 2013, we had a group study exchange team from India visiting our district, and a Rotary Club of Furness Peninsula was very privileged to host these members for about 4 days. And during the stay, short stay it was, a good friendships developed. And in 2018, when John and I went to India to be involved in the Polio National Immunization Days, we were able to fortify and build these relationships into long-time friends when we went to visit them. You will all know also that India is a country of contrasts, from the very rich to the poorest of the poor. And menstrual poverty is an issue in many countries, and perhaps no more so than in India. In India, around 64% of women of menstruating age are forced to make do with rags, newspapers, and leaves due mainly to poverty and the exacerbated stigma and culture pressures. Our friends in Patar Rotary made us aware of a young girl of 13 years old called Miriam. She lives in a small village just outside Patar, and we were told that Miriam is a very bright young girl and that she dreams of becoming a doctor. But things happened previously to her. When she was about 11 years old, she started her first period while at school. And while she was very frightened, and her classmates making fun of her only made the whole situation worse, she started to become very withdrawn. Her problems were made even worse because the school toilets, and there was only 2 of them, had no running water, and her family were too poor to buy proper sanitary products. So she had to manage, like all the others, with old rags. And perhaps not as surprisingly, she would miss a week out of school each month, and she quickly fell behind in her studies. And this is where my story begins. We took the request to our club and informed them of this situation. And the club decided that, yes, we are going to do something about this problem. So to start raising funds, we arranged a craft fair. Now, I can say that Furness Peninsula Rotary is quite renowned for their craft fairs. We have a waiting list of store holders. We advertise it well. We designed posters, and those posters go up all over the town, library, the supermarkets, even some well-known community buildings. And we have a special board in the doctor's surgery as well, so it goes there and everybody knows it. It's normally held on a Sunday. Regular social media posts onto our Facebook page, and as normal, the district Facebook coordinator, which is Jackie Baldwin, pick up all these notices and put it on the district Facebook page, which makes the audience even bigger. And we have a local radio station called Can-Do FM. We also have the opportunity to highlight the craft fair there. Now, about a week before the craft fair, we have flyers which we take out to the local residential areas that is surrounding the place where the craft fair is going to be, in a local hotel. And we distribute it so that highlight even more the fact that the craft fair is going to happen. The craft fair is very popular for the cake stall. And when we started raising the funds, we also decided that we would apply for a district grant to help substitute our extra funds. So on the day, the event ran smoothly. The entrance fee covered a cup of tea and coffee. The stall holders were happy because there was regular footfall through the rooms, and we raised quite a substantial amount of money the day. This then also helped us with making sure that we are going to get our foundation district grant, which will basically double our funds and mean that we can do so much more. And of course, whilst at the craft fair, photographs were taken and were posted on our Facebook page to show people what is happening and try to get even more people into the premises. Now, the end of my story will be in August this year, when we will be able to hand over to Patar Rotary the funds to purchase 2 or 5 sanitary dispensers and 5 incinerators, which will be installed in 5 schools in the city of Patar, where the need is the highest and they will focus specifically on the three or the five most deprived schools in the area. But alongside these dispensers, we will also provide them with approximately 3 months' worth of sanitary products. Fateur Rotary will let us have the photographs of when the incinerators and the dispensers are installed. But most importantly, the photographs will show the impact on the girls, including Miriam, who now can go to school regularly, work hard to reach that goal of becoming a doctor. I will probably never meet her, but I know she will be so grateful for the support Rotary has given her. Thank you, Phil.
Wow, very good. Thank you, Val, for that. Yeah, absolutely. That's so there's a couple of really practical examples of storytelling that we hope that you'll be able to take back to your clubs. What I would ask you to do is, before, and I've picked up particularly on social media, but before you post on your website or before you make a press release or post on social media, think before you post. You need to put together, much better to put together 3 simple storytelling posts than it is to blast out loads of photographs which aren't very well considered. But there we've got a story, which is a local community story, which has impact on an international cause. So it's an exciting, it sounds like a very well attended event in the Furness Peninsula for the craft fair. I can see the photographs in my mind now. It'll be a busy room with lots going on, and people are enjoying that opportunity. But as they come to that event, they're also helping an international cause. And if you can link the two together, which you can when you tell it as a story, with the lady that was referenced, Miriam, then that becomes a point of reference for the people in Barrow and Furness, that they are helping people elsewhere in the world. So think before you post on social media, or for that matter, make a press release or put on your website. I'm going to just take the opportunity to tell you now that there is a wider public image team, and we're here to support Val and her team in district, so that if they've got a big project on or they need some help or advice, then the Rotary Great Britain and Ireland team are here to help Val and her team, but also to help you in the clubs. So please be aware that there is a team of 6, and I've highlighted a lady in the middle there, Sue Campbell, and she looks after the cluster. There's probably a new word for you because we're operating in groups of districts now. So we're in the sort of blue, Air Force blue colour in the middle there, the north of England, includes my own district 1285, and a lady called Sue Campbell is the SAT team leader. So she's the counterpart to Val on the foundation team. So we're all trying to work that little bit more collaboratively and working together. So you'll hear the word cluster a little bit more frequently in your Rotary. I don't even know if there's an acronym yet for the cluster, but I'm sure there will be, because there is for everything else. But anything, just bringing Amanda Val's presentation to an end, what I am sure you can see is that public image is a critical aspect to what we do in our Rotary world. And if we have great public image with the correct branding, it brings about an opportunity for membership, because people will say, I promise you, they will say, wow, you're part of the same Rotary that's round the corner and over there and over there. And oh, my brother's in Rotary down south, and it's all the same, is it? And they suddenly establish that it's the biggest service organisation in the world. So there's a membership dividend. But with more members, we can bring about more service and foundation giving. And I split both service and foundation there, because although we are noted for providing service and funds to other charities, we also provide much needed funds for our own charity, the Rotary Foundation. And so the wheel goes forward. great public image brings about a membership opportunity, which allows us to do more good in the world. It's as simple as that. As with all good presentations, we've got some takeaways for you to take away today. This is not a Chinese takeaway. As you can see, it is a Rotary takeaway. And the first one we would ask you to remember is, please tell your Rotary story. As I mentioned, we're not all the greatest of storytellers, and we don't have a great humanitarian story that we can tell, nor is that story always appropriate all the time. But if you tell a story about the projects that you are putting on, people will be more engaged. It's not just a craft fair, bang, send the flyer out. It is the story behind the craft fair and the impact that that story is going to do. Yes, you're going to have fun having the craft fair, but it's the money that you raise and the impact that you create that makes the difference. So tell your Rotary story. Use the brand correctly, not necessarily this type of brand, that would be quite painful. But if you could use the Rotary branding that's available now on the Rotary Brand Centre, and as I said earlier, it does not require a login, so it's dead easy to get. You can make a club logo in a few seconds. So go and do that. Takeaway 3 is use social media. It is broadly free. You do not need to pay to boost your posts. If you are putting engaging stories on, linking your hashtags and copying local organisations and communities, then you will see the power of social media by using the correct brand and telling your story. Lastly, and not leastly, is be consistent. Don't just do it for one project. Don't just use the right branding for one project. Be consistent, use it frequently, use it consistently, and you will see the difference that your storytelling has on your communities and the effect that that has. That concludes our presentation. Here are our contact details, and I know Val would be delighted to hear from you. Here's her email address and a mobile phone number. And of course, you can reach out to me at any time. I would be pleased to hear from you and try and help you with your public image as you start the new Rotary year 23-24. So thank you very much for listening. We'd like to open the floor now to some questions, if there are any. There might not be any. We might have to make a few up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Velma, and thank you, Phil. Gosh, for those of you that know me know that I constantly write notes, and goodness me, I've written loads of things: influence, change, storytelling, inspirational, vibrancy, projects. We love them, don't we? Engaging and consistency. Phil, can I just ask, there will be some people who will worry about copyright. So we're talking about social media, we're talking about promoting what we do, working with other organisations. How do we make sure that we don't infringe copyright? Are there some kind of key things we should do as we think about posting?
So let's take Val's event. So we've got the craft fair. If you have at the entrance to that craft fair, as people are coming in, and I'm assuming I'll look to Val for some confirmation here. I'm sure there's some pre-sold tickets and there's also tickets sold on the day. But somewhere, as long as you write, there will be some photography taken, and this will be used for future Rotary and marketing purposes. Then that's your sort of blank caveat. The person that takes the photograph has the copyright. So you need to make sure that someone within the club is going to use those photographs. And of course, it's polite, just polite. If you're in a group of people, you see a nice shot, you go, I'm with Rotary, can I just take your picture? If they say no, that's fine, but move on to someone else. So just get consent. But you've put that blanket consent up at the beginning. And it's the person that takes the photograph that owns the copyright. It's not the subject. It's not the person that's in the photograph. It's the person that takes the photograph. It's quite a complex matter, but that's the trick. Put a little disclaimer somewhere as you enter, you know, when people are coming in, you're taking the money, just put a little note on the table. Photographs are going to be taken for marketing purposes. Please advise if this is not acceptable. You'll be surprised how you just won't get any responses, maybe one or two. And then just ask, I'm going to take your photograph. Is that okay? And if they say no, then don't take it.
Ace, that's brilliant. No, that's really good. Thank you very much indeed. And probably I'll open the question to both of you. And please, for those listening, if you've got some questions in the Q&A box at the bottom, please drop your questions in, your thoughts, your comments. It would be good to have a chat while we've got Velma and we've got Phil online. So when we talk about, and I'm terrible for this, I take pictures all the time of everything that I do. And I wonder sometimes whether I overdo a picture post. So, you know, when we talk about the beginning, the middle, and then the end, and we do those social media posts, is it good practice to kind of, so I do a beginning, a couple of pictures and a few words. When I do a middle, do I include one of the beginnings, you know, so we keep that chain of photos going? I just wonder sometimes, maybe as I overindulge in my photos and the explanation isn't there.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And you might have to do a little bit of experimentation here. There is the classic phrase, less is more. And I think unless you've got a phenomenally public interesting event, like a pop concert or a fireworks display where there's you know, lots to see, I would keep your pictures down to a minimum. And I think it's better to write 2 posts that cover 6 photographs than one post that covers all 6. So I'd put 2 on. So when you do it, the sort of the middle of the story is all about the little bit of time before the event and during the event. So I think you're trying to get a bit of excitement there. You're trying to get a bit of excitement there and get people to come to your event. So I think less is more is good. And if you've got 6 good photographs, I'd spread them out over the day with a couple of posts. So have like a morning post and an afternoon post, because people will be captured at different times of the day, because this is appearing in a timeline. So not everyone's going to see it all the time. How many times do you miss posts? You can catch back up, but people often just watch the immediate timeline. So just think about that. I don't know if Val wants to add anything there.
Oh, I think you've covered everything there, Phil. I totally agree. Fewer photographs with more posts, and not putting one post with 100 photographs on, because I think eventually they just lose interest on it.
Yeah. I actually had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with Jennifer Jones in Iceland, and we know that she comes from a media background, and she does not want pictures of her. She wants pictures of her, but not face on. So she wants her pictures in conversation, in action, you know, picking something up, putting something down, in action. So it's not about, you know, this is Jennifer Jones, the president of Rotary International. That's the last thing she wants. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of photographs of her face just stood there as a portrait, but she wants someone in conversation. So if she was in conversation, so there was, I know this is a very high profile photograph, but the classic photograph that she was with King Charles a few weeks ago, no one's looking at the camera. They're all engaged with each other. And that photograph says more than them all stood there as a lineup. And if you did a lineup, how many times would all of them be looking? So actually that engaging conversation of me talking to you, Pam, is much more powerful than just me and you looking at the camera smiling.
Yeah, it shows a certain level of involvement, isn't it? Instead of just staring forward for
Absolutely.
a picture.
Absolutely.
And I think I mean, it's brilliant that. So we talk about, you know, Rotarians are people of action, pictures in action, but I think it's about, again, we come back to the why and the what and the how, and whilst you know, we know that Jennifer Jones is our Rotary International president, and it's like you say, Phil, the picture isn't about her, the picture is about the what as Rotary are we doing.
Absolutely.
That's Do you know, that's a really good shout. We've got some questions. I'm going to ask one more, Malcolm, then I'll hand the mic to yourself. Sorry. So Velma, we've got our website, we've got our Facebook, and we've got our Norwest, are our three main areas. Is there anything that you'd like to your pitch, your shout out for people to how they send things to people, or what you know, why we need the information to come through?
I think do you mean clubs in our district to be more involved with what they do to district? Yeah, I think it's very important because, as I said so many times before, clubs in Rotary in Cumbria and Lancashire do the most fantastic projects, but they keep it a secret to their own areas, and we really all want to know about it. We want to see what they've done. We want to see what the impact of that was. So it would be absolutely brilliant if they just contact me, give me the stuff, and we'll put it on Facebook, we'll put it on the website. And we are working at this moment, just going to start working on the website to get it totally up to date and more manageable. And it would be great to have photographs of those fantastic projects everybody is doing to show the world what we achieve and how we do good in the world.
Fantastic, thank you. Malcolm, I know we've got some questions, so I'll hand the mic over to yourself.
Thank you. From Linda Lamson, is it advisable to buy clip art photos to use on flyers to overcome copyright issues as opposed to using free images?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So there are a number of paid for sites out there. Some of them are very expensive, so you want to stay away from them. So people like Getty Images are very expensive. If you are just wanting inert images, and you've seen some of the images that me and Val have used here today, lots of those were purchased images. They're not very expensive at all, and I will get a lot of use out of them. So all them, the beginning, the middle, and the end, were all purchasable. I tend to use a company called Adobe Stock. You can buy a single image for about £2. Just think about it. Obviously, there's a cost there. You just have to make sure you're going to get use from that. There are some free available websites, and I'm going to struggle just to recall them. But what I will do is a little bit of homework, a little takeaway for me today. I will just refresh myself. I've got a little file with some on, and I will send them out to Val so she can distribute via Malcolm. After there's 3 or 4 which are known to be free. It's also about having, there's 2 things. There's the royalty and there's the license. So you're buying it to use it, so it's a license. But do you still need to credit it? So you need royalty free and a paid for license. It all starts getting a little bit more complicated. But if you are doing an event and you are considering buying an image, reach out to Val, who will reach out to me, or reach out to me directly, and I will steer you on the right direction. I am not an expert in this particular field, but I have access to experts, and I will double check for you. But if you bought it, so for example, the Adobe Stock ones, it's 500,000 coverage. So it can have 500,000 imprints. Very hard to monitor that, but that's enough for me. If I got 500,000 views, I'd be pretty chuffed. So yes, if in doubt, and just to put a little bit of perspective on that, there was 3 or 4 incidents last year in Rotary Great Britain and Ireland. So that's the last calendar year, 22, where clubs have infringed copyright of an image and have been sent a letter to pay up. If the offence has occurred, then it is troublesome to get out of it. You can lobby for a lower figure, but if an offence has occurred, irrespective of whether it was by accident or not, because ignorance is no defence, then it is challenging to get out. There was one particular incident where an image was used. They were told to take it down immediately, which they did. They paid a small amount of money, and I'll say €50. I think they start the batting sometimes at €5,000, so it can be quite a worrying event. But the image was still in the archives of the website, and they found them again, and they would not move. So you need to be careful. It is a real, just be careful. And like you say, if you're unsure, ask. I'd be delighted to help. Thank you.
Phil, can I ask something just to make just to clarify it to clubs, please? The use of the Rotary brand being at either just the brand of excellence or the club brand. Many clubs do support projects, and then those projects, or they put a condition on to say, we want you to put a logo on this. So we've bought a bench. We want to say Rotary has supported this with a Rotary logo. That's not infringement, is it? That won't cause them any problems by doing that.
Where you buy a bench to put in a park and you want to put the Rotary logo on? No, because the use of the logo by us as Rotarians is absolutely granted. So we can use it for our own purposes in attribution to Rotary work, completely free, no cost, no involved, none at all. So if you want to put that logo on a bench, and Rotary have provided the funds for that bench, and it's in there, and it's commemorating something, or rewarding or respecting something, no problem at all.
Well, because there were some concern from some clubs due to this copyright issue that they were infringing, and I said no, they aren't. But I just wanted to make sure so that they hear I haven't given them the wrong information.
Yeah. Where the trick is if you sold the benches. So say you put the logo on, it was a Rotary bench, and you were selling them, then that becomes a licensable product, and you need to have a license to operate that because you're selling it for commercial gain. Yeah. Even though the money's going to charity, it becomes a bit more complicated. But for us as Rotarians, you can lose the logo, no problem at all. It's your logo, it's our logo, it's my logo, it's yours. Use it.
Thank you.
Yeah, one from Peter Brooks. Can we use other organisations' logos alongside our own when we work in partnerships?
Absolutely. Great question, Peter. So I don't want it to become a little bit of a branding seminar, but if you go onto the logo, onto the brand centre, there's an opportunity to have a lock-up logo. And the lock-up logo has Rotary, the club name, the wheel, a vertical line, a grey line, if it's in the colour one, and then you can either put a picture or the words of the club. And I'd be delighted to work with Val and do a little workshop on that later on this year, just to show how that works. Very, very simple to create. And if you are working with, and I'll make one up for my own club, Rotary Club of Prescot, we work with Willowbrook Hospice. So it's a Rotary, Prescott, the wheel, vertical line, and then Willowbrook Hospice. You can put their logo in, or you could just write Willowbrook Hospice. If you write Willowbrook Hospice, it would appear in our fonts, not theirs. If you put their logo on, it'll be their logo. It sounds a little complicated. It's actually incredibly easy. I'd be delighted to show you how to do that.
And Herbert Chatters has got his hand up, so I'll bring him in to ask his question. Away you go, Herbert.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Good morning, Herbert.
Morning, Phil, and all concerned. Broadly speaking, it won't be a surprise to you that I work in total tandem with what you're talking about, but I'm disappointed to see that we're still having to put so much emphasis on using the correct branding after 10 years, particularly being a part of that particular launch. I feel it is absolutely critical that we use more opportunity to dissuade people from using the name club. It's not easy to do that, but I really need to say that people join causes and not clubs. And I feel we need to get that message across to people so that they can be part of this vibrancy. And I would just like to add, Phil, and again, I'm in broad agreement, but please do not just take it for granted that because you put what might be an insignificant notice at the entrance of a hall, that photographs are being taken for publicity purposes, that would not get you off the hook if you take a picture of people, and particularly including children, that appears somewhere when there are orders on those children and families, and they should not appear in public. So the rule of thumb as a press person is, when you're taking photographs, particularly where they're totally identifiable, please ask, because you need it for a caption anyway, if it's going to be meaningful. And the final point I'd like to make is, it's a truism that one photograph says 1,000 words. It is not a truism, Pam, that 3 photographs is 3,000 words, because it actually turns you off. So I hope that's helpful, and let's crack on.
Thanks, Herbert, for that reminder. I've written on a piece of paper here, along with a million other things, a photo speaks 1,000 words. I think, Herbert, I'll write underneath, but 3 doesn't allow me 3,000.
Yeah, there's some good points raised there by Herbert, and I mean broad agreement there. I think the copyright photographs thing, yeah, is a great point. I did mention that you should ask before you take the photograph. There is a more detailed document on the Rotary Great Britain and Ireland YouTube channel with regard to copyright, and I'll send the link to Val that she can send out to all people. It goes into much more detail, but I think a disclaimer at the entrance is a starter for 10, and as Herbert says, you know, get the response, like you say, if they don't want to be photographed, that's their right, but if they do, yeah, you know, ask before you take the photograph. I think that's the good advice there, Herbert. Thank you.
Malcolm, are there any more questions?
No, there's nothing at the moment.
Okay. Before I do my thanks, Velma, Phil, any last parting comments before we leave everybody to go off inspired by what you've talked about?
I think I just want to stress again, if there's any help needed, or if members wants any advice, contact me. If I don't have the answer, I know a man who has.
And Phil, you're the man that has. So,
well, if I don't know the answer, I'll probably be ringing Herbert anyway. So that's fine. No, I would just say, you know, think about those takeaways. So, you know, tell your story, use the brand, use social media, be consistent, and if you follow them, I don't think you'll be far off. And I think it's just remember, it's the impact of what we do that matters. Much as we've talked about the branding here today, it is the impact. What I believe happens is the correct use of the branding gives us a greater impact, and that's what we're all about. So thank you very much for the invitation to speak today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pam.
No, thank you. So if I've got a couple of things I'd like to do. First of all, thank you, Velma. Thank you, Phil, for a really insightful and thought-provoking start to District Assembly. Storytelling is something that that Velma and I have chatted about, and that we are passionate about. It's the, you know, we know what we do. It's the why we do it and how we do it that we need to share those stories, and with pictures and words, and that beginning, the middle and the end are really, really important. So thank you for setting the scene for my District Assembly, and yeah, it has been fantastic, and I'm sure there will be workshops that will come from this as we go through the year. That I'm sure Velma's going to have an email inbox full of requests from now, which will be great. So just before we go, I'd just like to remind everybody about the next sessions. So I've given you all Monday off. Go and enjoy, hopefully, the sunshine. And we're back on Tuesday, and it's all about our community and our environment. And I'm sure there'll be some storytelling then. And then on the 15th, it's foundation, and the all about foundation and the impact that we have through the Rotary Foundation. But I wonder, Malcolm, if you would be able to help me with your technical wizardry. So on Wednesday, I will be joined, as I said before, by Rotarian Peter Brooks from the Rotary Club of Blackpool Palatine. His friend Helen sadly can't be with on Wednesday. She sent an incredible video that I will play on Wednesday, but Helen joins us today. So I wonder, Malcolm, can we get Helen either in person, as in can we see her or can we hear her, just so that we can do a quick hello? Oh, there you are. Look at that magic. So
just like that.
For everybody that's still with us, can I introduce you to Helen Ashton? Helen, I'm privileged that you're going to join the work that we do this year. I know Peter and I have talked lots and lots about you, and I watched your video yesterday, and goodness me, it's it's quite an incredible video. So welcome to Rotary, because I say at the minute, you're not a Rotarian, you never know, Peter. At the minute, welcome to Rotary in Cumbria and Lancashire, and thank you for being part of my focus for this year, which is dementia awareness. So I'm going to give you the floor for a couple of minutes, just to, is there anything you'd like to say or share today, so that it draws people to come and listen to Peter and I on Wednesday?
Well, I think just listening to the conversations that were going on, the storytelling is so important. You see people every day and you've no idea what's going on behind closed doors at all. You know, we all put on a bit of a front, and you know, we try and smile through it all, but actually, you know, as you saw on my video, it's really difficult to keep that together sometimes. So, you know, I've had the experience of obviously losing mum and through dementia and everything else, but also in my little world, I've also got a grandson with cerebral palsy and epilepsy. We've just had a real scare thinking he'd just had a stroke. He's only 7, but he's not okay. We've got a long way to go, and we just don't know. But you live your life and you get on with things and you just smile through it. And sometimes, you know, you just need to be kind to people, to understand that there is lots going on. But if somebody's happy to tell their story, then it's so powerful. And, you know, I would absolutely, that's why I don't mind doing it. I'm sort of always been in front of the camera, so to speak, most of my life. I used to work for Bath Rugby, and I was the press officer and PR manager there. So I obviously am quite used to doing all that sort of thing. So I don't mind telling my story. A lot of people can't do it. It's not easy. It really isn't. And sometimes it might be even worth, if somebody's got a story that they're happy to tell, it's sometimes worth talking to that person and getting somebody else to tell the story for them.
You know what, that's a really good point. And I also, that kind of draws back to some of the projects that we do. We kind of do them and we kind of like dull them down a bit. No, well, it was just. But actually, when you tell it to somebody else and they talk about it, it suddenly takes on a different perspective and comes alive. So I'm so glad that you've been able to join us today. I know that you, me and Peter are going to have lots of conversations as we go through the year, and we've lots of plans. So on a future meeting, you can come back and join us, and I won't do it on a Wednesday. I've learnt from Peter now.
It's only because I do my ceramics course.
Wednesdays aren't a good day, but anyway, no, thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to many more conversations. And I will just close by saying thank you to everybody who's joined us today. I'm looking out there, the sun is breaking through the cloud, so we do need to go out and enjoy it. As you wander through your day, just think about how you're going to build the brand, how you're going to engage with your communities, how you're going to tell that story. What is your beginning? What is your middle? What is your end? And do we really share the true impact of what we do? So thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday when we talk all things environment and community. Take care. Have a lovely day. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.